All right, ready to dive into the world of startups. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some advice from tech entrepreneur and investor Paul Graham. The Y Combinator guy.
Oh, yeah. He's helped launch over 4,000 startups. Big names, too. Dropbox, Airbnb, Stripe. He's kind of a startup legend.
Totally. And the interesting thing is, the advice we're looking at today, he actually gave it to a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds originally.
Really?
Yeah. But trust me, even if high school is a distant memory for you, Graham's insights are super relevant no matter how old you are.
That's so true. It's about that entrepreneurial spirit.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter your age.
Exactly. And Graham, he throws out this really bold idea right away. He's like, forget looking for a normal job. You can just build your own company.
And he's not afraid to talk about the money either. Like, he really focuses on that desire for wealth as a big motivator for young entrepreneurs, which I think begs the question, is that our main driver? Is it all about the money, or are there other things pushing us to build something?
It's a great question to think about. And while, yeah, the idea of becoming the next tech millionaire is definitely exciting, Graham goes deeper than just the money. He lays out what he sees as the core recipe for startup success. And it comes down to three main things, really. Technical skills, a killer idea, and having the right co-founders.
It's funny how that framework, it kind of pops up in all sorts of fields where people become successful, right? Think about athletes or artists or even chefs. They all need that core set of skills, plus a unique vision, their own thing, and the right people around them to really make it.
Okay, so let's break this recipe down a bit. First up, technical skills. And here's where it gets interesting. Graham actually kind of disses traditional education a little here.
Ugh.
Yeah, he says if you really want to learn to program, forget the formal computer science classes. Just start building your own projects.
He's got a point, though. It's like learning an instrument or a sport, right? You don't become a concert pianist just from reading music theory books.
Right.
You got to actually play the piano. Practice, practice, practice. Sounds like Graham thinks coding's the same way.
It's about getting your hands dirty with the code. He even says that even top computer science grads, a lot of times they don't actually have the practical programming skills you need in the real world. I mean, that's why companies have those coding interviews. They want to see what you can actually build, not just how well you can answer a theoretical question on a test.
It's not about what's in the textbook, right? It's about actually using it, messing around, and building something real.
Exactly. And to prove his point, Graham points to some of the biggest names in tech. Facebook, Apple, Google. What do they all have in common?
Let me guess. They all started as side projects.
Bingo. Not some perfectly planned out business plan, just side projects that, blew up into something huge.
Makes you think, right? Like, what if you're sitting on an idea right now that seems kind of small, maybe even a little dumb?
Right.
Could that be the next big thing?
Graham would probably say, don't write off those little ideas. He actually tells this great story about Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah, I've heard this.
So Zuckerberg, he built Facebook because he saw what he calls a sticking door, basically, just a problem he noticed at Harvard.
Which was?
No central online directory for students.
Ah,
And bam, Facebook is born.
just like that.
So it makes you wonder, what sticking doors do you see in your own life? Those little things that bug you.
Like that?
Those are potential starting points for something new.
Definitely.
So instead of stressing about coming up with the perfect business idea, it's more about tapping into the things you're already curious about, this kind of unconscious instincts that pull you in.
I get that.
Graham actually argues that, especially young people, they're really good at sensing what's cool, what's interesting, even if they can't explain it in a business plan. It's all about trusting your gut,
Yeah.
That feeling of, this could be something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And here's another gem from Graham, built for your friends.
Not like some big general audience?
Nope. Your actual real-life friends.
Interesting.
Because who knows what you like, what you need, better than your friends, right? If you can build something that your friends actually get excited about, something they want to use all the time.
Then you're onto something.
Okay, so we've talked about technical skills. We've talked about finding a killer idea. But what about that third ingredient in Graham's recipe, co-founders?
Ah, yes. The co-founder question. It's funny because even though he's all about the hands-on learning over formal education, Graham still sees a lot of value in going to a good university.
Right, but not for the reason you might think.
Not for the fancy diploma.
Exactly.
It's about the network, right?
Totally.
Being around all those driven, ambitious people you find at those top schools.
It's like a breeding ground for future entrepreneurs. And speaking of which, remember those side projects we were talking about? Those aren't just solo missions. Graham says working on projects together, that's one of the best ways to find your perfect co-founder. It's like, finding that perfect startup partner in crime.
Yeah, someone who just gets you.
Totally. Someone who's on the same wavelength.
You need that shared passion, the right mix of skills, and that kind of deep trust you only get from working on something together.
It's about finding someone who's just as psyched about your vision as you are, someone who's ready to jump in head first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And while, yeah, top universities can be amazing for finding those kinds of partnerships, Graham knows they're not the only place to meet your perfect co-founder.
Right, because look at the founders of Twitch. They met when they were, like, kids.
Kids, seriously.
Yeah. Or the Collison brothers, the guys who started Stripe, they technically met at birth.
Oh, right, they're brothers.
Oh, exactly. So maybe sibling rivalry isn't always a bad thing. But jokes aside, it just goes to show you that entrepreneurial spirit, it can come alive anywhere, anytime.
Totally. And that's what's so cool about Graham's advice. He boils it all down to two really basic things: build things and do well in school.
It's not about picking one path over the other.
It's about realizing how they both matter,
Yeah.
how they both play a part in your journey, whether you're like dead set on launching a startup or just want to approach the world with that entrepreneurial energy.
So true. And as we wrap up our deep dive into Paul Graham's advice today, he leaves us with this really interesting question. If you could start any project just for fun, what would it be?
Ooh, I like that question. Takes all the pressure off, no worries about making it big or anything, just that pure joy of creating.
It's about rediscovering that passion that maybe you've lost touch with a little. So what really gets you fired up? What problem do you want to solve, even if it's just for the heck of it?
Because remember, like we learned from Graham today, sometimes those passion projects, those ideas that seem kind of small at first, those are the ones that can turn into something truly incredible.
Exactly. So who knows, that project you start just for fun, that could be the beginning of something amazing.
Mm. And that's a wrap on our deep dive today. We hope you're feeling inspired to tap into your inner entrepreneur, to keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep building. Until next time.